Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jean, the Digital Event Manager at Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. We are part of the Info Exchange Group, a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges. Today, I'm very excited to welcome you to join us, the Budgeting Apps for Not-for-Profits with Mike Devine. Mike is a CPA and CEO of Kelsa Australia. He has been involved in accounting system for not-for-profits since before the implementation of GST in Australia. He has spent most of the past 20 years in designing and developing tools to take time out of budgeting and reporting process. His award-winning Kelsa application is now available as a donation through us, Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. Before we begin, we'll start with a bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted. If you have any technical issues, please type into the questions box and I'll be here to assist you. If you have any questions about the webinars, please also type into the questions box. And please note that your comments and questions will not be appear to the entire group. We really encourage you to ask as many questions as possible. So there's no question silly, just feel free to ask. Please note that the webinar is being recorded. The presentation deck and the recording will be sent to you in 1 to 2 business days. And finally, I would like to remind you there's a very short survey at the end. Please help us to complete that before you leave. All right, thank you. And now I would like to pass to Mike for today's section.
Thank you, Jean. Welcome, everybody. So today I want to just give you a bit of an overview of the budgeting apps that are out there in the world, so you've got an idea of what your options are. I mean, the most common application that not-for-profits and businesses generally around the world use for budgeting is still a spreadsheet, because many of us are familiar with spreadsheets. They're relatively simple to use, but as we all know, they can be problematic. It's easy to make mistakes in a spreadsheet. It's hard to find mistakes in a spreadsheet, and sharing spreadsheets, doing multiple revisions of a spreadsheet is challenging. So want to explore some of the other options that are out there for you. And one of the things that got me started on this topic was one day I was just searching to see what budgeting apps are out there, and the challenge with searching for anything in Google or any of the other search engines, when you search for budgeting apps, what you find more than anything else, unless you really tailor your search to budgeting apps that work with Xero, for example, then you get all the personal budgeting tools, and they're great, some of them, and I've dabbled in one or two over the years myself, but they're not what you need for running budgets for a not-for-profit organization. So what I want to do today is first just go through the process of developing your requirements. What are the features that you need in a budgeting app? There are different apps out there, and there is no one size fits all. There's no solution that's perfect for everybody. So it is about thinking about what you need for your organization. Some organizations are much more complex than others. You have to think about your skill level as well. So we'll have a look at that process of developing the needs analysis and some of the things to look for when you're looking at apps, and then I'll go through some of the more commonly used apps that are out there, and I've categorized them into 3 levels. There are some that look promising and will suit some organizations, but they soon if you're slightly bigger, slightly more complex, you'll soon run into limitations. Then there's others that do the job reasonably well, but I think probably and there's a couple of types there, but I think the main my main criticism of those, if there is one, is that they a couple of them at least are a bit dated looking, which doesn't matter too much if your goal is to do the budgets in this app and then export the data from there and pretty it up and make it look the way you want in a spreadsheet. So keep that in mind and think about what the end result is that you're trying to get. And then a couple of apps that are designed specifically with not-for-profits in mind that we'll have a look at and talk about what they do and how they work and who they might suit. And as I said, there is no one size fits all. So I mentioned searching challenges. This is a handy little app that comes up fairly top of the list when you go searching in Google for budgeting apps, and it's called YNAB. You need a budget. Great if you want to keep track of how much you're spending on shopping and going to the pub and going to the gym and all those sort of things, but not for your not-for-profit organization. So let's get on to the serious things. And I think when you're looking for a budgeting app or probably any app, the first part of any assessment is what's the current situation? What are you using at the moment? How are you doing things at the moment? And then what's the problem with what you're doing at the moment? Why are you looking for another app at all? And sometimes I've met people who have a perfectly adequate tool, but the people in the organization haven't had the right training in how to use it. So I think it's important to identify whether your problem is the tool that you're using and it's not adequate for your needs, or is it just that the people who are using it need better training in how to use it, and it could be quite suitable if you had the people with the right skills. But maybe that training's not available. Maybe it requires a degree in computer science to run it, and therefore it's too complicated, and therefore I'd say it's not the right tool. But know that, and so have a good look at the deficiencies of your current system. What is it that annoys you? What are the shortfalls? Why is it taking you a lot of time to do things? Where is it weak? But also be aware of the strengths of it. So, if you've been doing budgets one way, and as I said, the most common way is a spreadsheet. If you've been doing that for years, it's probably working to some extent. So don't lose sight of the positive aspects, because the worst thing you can do is replace that to solve one problem but make something else worse. So do a good analysis of what you've got currently, the pros, the cons, what you like, what you don't like, and then talk to your team about and whether you have a team, sometimes it's just one person in the finance office who is the only person involved in creating and distributing budgets. Sometimes other organizations, you have different program managers involved, you have senior management involved. So talk to all those people that are involved and get their perspective on what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Because if you're introducing a new system, you want their buy-in. You want them to feel that it's going to make their lives easier and not have this tool dumped on them that makes everything harder for them, just to make your life easier. So think about the full team, and then think about the capacity of what you need. If you are running, an organization that's got, 20 different programs now, you could go out and get a budgeting app that will quite easily manage budgets for 20 different programs. But what happens if that expands to 50 or 100? Do you need to think about the future of that? It might be just one person in the finance office doing the budgets now, but what happens if you want in the future to give, department or program managers access to do their own budgets or to report on their own budgets? Can you do that? And so I think you need to think not just about what your needs are now, but what your needs are for the reasonably foreseeable future. I had somebody working for me once many years ago that whenever we were looking at changing something, he would want to consider every single possible scenario that may or may not happen. And some of them were so far-fetched, and he would spend time checking out really obscure scenarios. You don't have to go that far. It's the reasonably secure, reasonably predictable ones that you mainly need to look at. So then some of the questions that I think are worth asking when you're looking at an app are, firstly, is it actually going to save you time? That's the main motivation that we have when we're looking for a new app to do budgeting or anything. And if something isn't going to save you time, then what's its purpose? It may be that it's going to, give you more accurate results, but generally giving you more accurate results means you spend less time redoing things, and therefore it will save you time. But think about that time saving thing and know how much time you spend currently on this task, and then think about whether this app is going to give you more of that time so you can do other useful, productive things. And generally, any app that you use is going to require some setup time. So you need to invest a little bit of time at the beginning. The first month or two, it may take you longer than doing it the old way. But the idea is that over time, it should be more efficient. It should give you more of your time back so that you can do other things. And then, do you need training and help with it? And there are some apps out there that are totally simple and you can just pick them up and everything's obvious. And, the simpler the app, the less training you're likely to require, and the less help you need. So training and help becomes less of an issue. But if you've got a complex organization, you've got 590 business units, you've got 17 members of your staff that are involved in the budgets, you've got crisscrossing information, you've got lots of different people wanting reports out of this system, then your needs are likely to be more complex. You need a more complex app. You probably need more training in getting up and running with it. So investigate that as part of your evaluation. Is that training available? Is help available when you need it? Because invariably budgeting apps tend to be less time critical than a payroll app, for example. You know, if you can't get your budget out by 2 o'clock today, most of the time, if you're well organized, it doesn't really matter if you leave it until tomorrow. But if the wages don't get paid today, you tend to have a lot of unhappy people. So, keep that in mind. And then you do need to look at the price of the app that you're getting. You're paying for something, and especially in not-for-profit organization, you're paying with somebody else's funds that have come from somewhere else, but it's about getting value for your money. If it's going to save you time, then it's worth investing in that. Most of them are on a subscription basis these days, so it makes it really easy. If you've done that time-saving calculation and it's going to save you an average of 2 hours a month or 10 hours a month, what that return's going to be. I mean, yes, it's a bit of an estimate up front, but that'll tell you whether the price is reasonable for your organization and whether it makes sense. And then who are you buying it from? You're buying something generally, as I said, on a monthly subscription these days. Is the supplier still going to be around next week, next month, next year? It doesn't happen often that software suppliers disappear, but it can happen, and it particularly has been happening lately with apps in the Xero, QuickBooks, MYOB space. There are some that were in existence a few years ago, and the owners have just decided that they're not making any money out of it, I presume, and they've withdrawn from the business. But the other one that happens, and it happened recently with an inventory system called DataDeer, is that they were bought by Intuit, the QuickBooks people, who then decided that they were going to stop integrating with Xero. So all the people using DataDeer with Xero then have to go and find an alternate system. So it's about thinking about what's happening there. What are your can you get your data out easily afterwards? But being aware that there are these risks. Now, let's have a look at some of these. So the first ones are the ones that, for me, have looked quite promising, and I know people in the not-for-profit sector that are using them, but I think they have some limitations, and we'll have a quick chat about those. So they're not necessarily bad. I think it's more that the not-for-profit sector isn't the right place for them, unless you're a fairly small, fairly simple organization, in which case they could be perfect. So it's about right tool for the right people. And I mean, we're talking budgeting apps here, and budgeting often goes hand in hand with reporting. And often the tool that you use for budgeting is also going to produce the reporting, because it's, most budgeting apps, it's not just a matter of entering budgets. You then want to be able to see them afterwards. So they will have connections to your accounting system so that you can compare actuals against budgets in different ways. And the first one here, Spotlight Reporting, is one of the classic reporting solutions of the Xero world, and has been around for a long time. And I've stood next to them at many events, and they're nice people. I know some of them personally, and it's a good tool if you're doing reporting at the organization level. And they do consolidation of multiple organizations. Where I think they are weak when it comes to a not-for-profit organization is that while they have reporting, well, firstly, they integrate with Xero mainly these days. They dabbled with MYOB a few years ago, but so far as I can see, and I had a quick search on their website, I can't see anything anymore about integration with MYOB, only with Xero. So it's possible they still do MYOB, it's just hidden away and they don't promote it, but I think they're just Xero only these days. And while they do budgets while they do reporting at the cost center level, so tracking categories out of MYOB, they don't do budgets in Spotlight for that. You have to do the budgets in Xero, and Spotlight then pulls those out of Xero into Spotlight, and then you can report on them. And Xero's, all the accounting systems, and it's, I mean, this is an issue with Xero, it's an issue with MYOB, it's an issue with QuickBooks, it's an issue with NetSuite, it's an issue with SAP. You can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for an accounting system and it will be really good at accounting, but invariably they're weak on budgeting and non-existent when it comes to cash flow forecasting. I've never quite understood that, but that's the way the world is. And Xero's budgeting, it's okay if you've got 2 or 3 departments that you need to put budgets together for, but if you start, if you've got 20 programs and then you want to have the initial approved budget that you set at the beginning of the year and the revised budget that you're doing halfway through the year, it gets complicated to manage and hard work, which is why most Xero users resort to spreadsheets for their budgeting. So Spotlight will pull those budgets in from Xero and report on them, but it's having to do the budgets in Xero, I think, is the weakness there. It's not so much a fault of Spotlight as a reporting app. It's more a weakness of their budgeting tool. And they do budgeting at the organization level, which is reasonably easy to use, and you can do formulas in there to, set one account as a percentage of another and put rules and things in, but they don't do that at the cost center level. That may change at some point in the future, but we'll wait and see. Forecast 5 is another reporting app, more New Zealand based than Australia. For those of you who've been around the reporting budgeting world for a long time, it came out of Win Forecast back in the olden days, similar to the way Castaway in Australia originated. And again, their focus is on organization level reporting. They do cost center reporting by treating each one as an organization, and then you can consolidate multiple organizations, and you can do budgets by those organizations, and you're treating them as a cost center. Again, it's something that works if you've got a small number of them. Try and do it with 50 different programs, and it starts getting cumbersome. If you're just doing one organization, you want budgets at the organization level, it can work perfectly fine. Just be aware that it does integrate with Xero and MYOB, but it is a desktop app. So if you're looking for something cloud-based, Forecast 5 isn't the solution. I've heard rumors they're doing a cloud-based version, but I haven't seen it yet. And Live Plan, I've come across a handful of people using Live Plan, and that again does budgets at the organization level, but Live Plan's main focus is on helping you create a strategic plan, and then the budgets are part of that plan. And again, they're at that high level organization wide strategic level, so not detailed budgets for programs. They have some really good templates for budget for planning, but it's not. It's planning. Planning's not our topic today. So good for planning. I think fairly weak on the budgeting side of things. Then my next grouping are somewhat more widespread in the not-for-profit sector. The first two, Budget Link and BI for Cloud, are Australian-based products. Budget Link has been around for many years. Originally developed in Adelaide. I'm still based in Adelaide. Developed for MYOB many years ago, doing job budgets. Has since expanded to also link into Xero, so they can, and essentially they give you an automated spreadsheet. So they give you a spreadsheet template that connects to your MYOB or your Xero, and then you do the budgets in Budget Link in a spreadsheet, which is a familiar environment, and then it's got a handful of templated reports. It's a fairly constrained spreadsheet in that you can't just do anything you want with it, and you do need to go back to the Budget Link people to get reports customized if you want something different. You could export the data to another spreadsheet and do other things with it. It looks pretty much exactly the same as it did in the early 2000s, and it's functional, and there is a free version that does the basics of giving you some budgets and some reports. So it's quite popular amongst some smaller organizations. I know there's churches using it and other organizations like that. So if price is an issue, if you're just looking for something simple that still does the job budgets or the tracking category budgets and gives you some basic reports around that, then Budget Link's worth a look. BI for Cloud also came from that MYOB background back in the early 2000s. It is cloud-based, as the name suggests, and it does some does some fairly detailed stuff. So it will, for example, give you transaction reports on, and when I say they come from MYOB, they now connect to, what do they connect to? They connect to Xero, they connect to QuickBooks Online. I think they connect to Attaché as well. So a range of different accounting systems. But I think one of their strengths is detailed reporting. So if they do some budgeting, their budgets are fairly simple, fairly plain. You get a grid with accounts down the left, months across the top, and you can enter your budgets there. And then there's a series of reports. Their reports are fairly plain. They're columns of data, rows of data, which you can then export to a spreadsheet and apply your formatting, is the basic way they work. But as I said, they are fairly strong if you want detailed reporting. If you want a transaction listing of all the transactions for a particular program, because you need that detail to verify things, to acquit things. If you want to look at who your top customers or donors are, if you want to look at which are the biggest suppliers you're dealing with, you can get those reports out of BI for Cloud, and it's very good at that. So worth looking at if you need that sort of detailed reporting and you're happy to then put a bit of time into applying your own formatting to it. Medano is quite a different beast. It's basically an Excel add-in, which to some extent Budget Link is too, but Medano takes a very different approach. It will link to Xero and QuickBooks and pull data out of there, but then it has a number of pre-built models that give you a budgeting template for entering your budgets, and then a whole series of reports built off that. And it's got a very powerful spreadsheet modeling language and formula builder behind it that can be less complex than building the same formulas in a spreadsheet, but there's a bit more of a learning curve to get there. It's not something you pick up in 5 minutes. Some of us look at it and think, okay, this looks like hard work. But if you're prepared to, if you like your spreadsheets but you want a bit more structure to them, Medano can give you that, and it can take some of the time out of creating those budget and reporting models that you would do with a spreadsheet. So it's and one of the good things about it is that once you've created that model, you can actually turn off the Medano plugin, and then all the underlying data and formulas are there, and you can just edit them just as you would an Excel formula. So you get sort of the best of both worlds in that sense. And from a not-for-profit perspective, they talk in terms of company budgets and entities rather than departments and programs and projects and cost centers and that sort of thing. But you can consolidate multiple models. So you can create a model for program 1 and a model for program 2 and a model for program 3, and then consolidate them all together for reporting purposes. So it's, it is a spreadsheet. It's got some of the benefits of a spreadsheet in that it's, flexible and you can do a lot with it, but it gives you a bit more structure than a basic spreadsheet. So worth looking at for those of you who are power users of spreadsheets but don't like to have to start from scratch and want something with a bit of structure. As I said, there is a bit of a learning curve to get there, but some people, I know some people who love it and say wouldn't do without it. But those same people often say, but I can't delegate it to anybody else because they haven't done the Medano training, and I wouldn't want them touching my models without knowing what they're doing. So if you're the main person involved in the budgets and you've got those high-level Excel skills, you'll probably find, it won't be hard to learn Medano. It won't be a 5-minute exercise, but it's not going to be a 5-week exercise. So worth a look if that's your space. Yeah. So from there are a couple of apps that have sort of made their home in the not-for-profit space, and one of them is my own Calxa, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that's not the main topic. Martus is reasonably new in Australia and New Zealand. They're US based, and I've only in the last couple of years come across Australian organisations using Martus. They're very much designed for not-for-profit organisations. They don't. I'm going to let me just check my. I just need to. If you excuse me a moment, I just need to make sure that I'm going to tell you the right story here, because no, so I was right. Martus doesn't link with Xero or MYOB, but it does link with QuickBooks Online. It links with some of the bigger systems then, like Blackboard's Financial Edge, if any of you using that. Again, that's not a big accounting system in Australia at this stage, but reasonably big in the US. I was talking to the guys from Blackboard at the Connecting Up conference the other week, and they said they've pretty much put on hold promoting of it because they're still working on some of the GST issues. And the other one is Sage Intact. Sage, a big UK accounting firm or accounting system firm, and Intact is a US-based product initially, but growing in Australia at that level above the MYOB and Xero stage. So for people who have outgrown the MYOBs and Xeros, Sage Intact is one of the products that are in at that level, and Martus integrates directly with that, as well as I said, QuickBooks Online, and it does program budgets. It does do reports that are designed for things like grant acquittals. It does tell you what's unspent with your budget. So it's been designed for not-for-profit organizations. It does that program budgets. They roll up to the organization level budget. You can have multiple users. You can give them different permissions, and is well worth a look if you're at the larger end of the scale. I'm pretty sure, I'm not absolutely sure because I haven't had a chance to, take it for a play, but I'm pretty sure that you can import data from a spreadsheet. So even if you're working with something like MYOB Advanced or MYOB Excel or NetSuite, you would be able to export data from that and import it into Martis and do your reports that way. So worth having a look. It has a good reputation in the US, and as I said, I've spoken to Australian-based not-for-profits that are using it. They have been at that bigger end of the scale, and so, and if you read their reviews online, many people are very positive about it. Where there are qualifications to those reviews, they tend to be that it's not necessarily very friendly for non-accountants, but generally in those organizations that size that Martis is appealing to, you will have an accountant or a finance team in the organization with those accounting skills. So I don't see that as a major obstacle generally. So for those of you, especially at that big end, Martis is well worth a look at. And then Calxa I'm biased in talking about because I designed it. So I like to think it's perfect, but as I said at the beginning, there is no one size fits all in this space. We like to think Calxa is pretty good. It does connect with MYOB Xero QuickBooks Online, and you can import data from other systems via a spreadsheet. And one of the things that we've focused on a lot is giving you flexibility with your reporting. So, for example, the traditional way of doing budgets is that you have accounts down one side, you have months across the top, and you've got a grid to put them all together. And then you do that for one program, and you move to the next program and the next program and the next program. And you can do that in Calxa, and you can do it for the next 20 years if you want to. But there are also times you want to look at things differently. So we have different layouts. So you can, for example, switch the left columns basically and select an account like your superannuation account, and it will show you all the programs line by line and month by month. So you can adjust the superannuation or apply a formula to the superannuation for all your programs all at once without having to go from one to the other. Or if you want to adjust your wages, you would look at your wages in that view, and then you can reallocate wages budgets from one program to another and those sort of things. And so it's about giving you flexibility there, and then flexibility in the reporting. And you can report on one program, 5 of them, consolidated or detail, or the whole organization level, and show original budget, current forecast compared to actuals all on one report, and what's unspent, and reforecast the unspent budget, that sort of thing. So if you're looking to something Australian based that connects to MYOB Xero or QuickBooks, have a look at Calxa. We do a donation program through Connecting Up for those with a turnover of less than $1 million. So talk to Connecting Up or TechSoup if you're in New Zealand. and they'll do a discount for the larger organizations as well. So that's the broad overview of the world of budgeting apps for not-for-profits. I may have missed some. I don't claim to know everything about everything, but Jean, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Mike. So far we are okay. All right, let me have a look. So feel free to pop
Somebody
your
must have some
question,
questions.
yeah, into your questions box, and Mike can get an answer right now. And also, yeah, we got a questions. Okay. And also just reminded that you'll be receiving the presentation deck and also the recording in 1 to 2 business days. So if you have questions, because this is a GoToWebinar platform, so you need to type the questions into the questions box. All right. So I see Emma hands up. So Emma, would you like to type your questions so that we can, all right, perfect. We got Susan here. So for organizations under 1 mil turnover, is it a full donation or is it completely free?
The software is completely free. There's an admin fee that you need to pay to connecting up, which I think is somewhere around $150 a year. But you get the software for free, and that includes all support and help and whatever else you need.
Lovely. So I believe this answers your question, Susan. All right, we got another audience asking, does Kelsa work on high-level organization structure or cost center based?
It can do either. Mostly in the not-for-profit sector, we find people do the budgets at the cost center and then roll them up to the organization level budget. And you can report on either.
Cool, no worries. And oh, okay, we have Annie here. So she would love to book about 511 sections to set up our budgeting. So is there such a thing?
Yes, we can do that. I should have let me just find you my website. Let's on the if I can get this across here. So if you go to calxa.com and customers for not-for-profits, there's a book a demo link there. Start there. You can book the first one, and then we'll organize the second one and the fifth one from there. How's that? Happy to help you get started. Yeah.
Sure, and I can also pop this link into the chat box so that it's easier for all of us. So
Yep.
maybe Mike,
Great.
if you can like send me the link later. Is it just the official page?
Yeah. I can give you the link to the direct link to the demo if you like.
Yeah. Or you can just place it into the chat box. I can share with everyone.
There you go.
Lovely. Perfect. So that's a demo over there. So please just go to the chat box, everyone, if you want to have a look. All right, we have Emma's back with us. No worries, because she couldn't find the chat box before. So the question is, are there any of these apps appropriate for a tiny charity for no more than 20K? What do you reckon?
I would have a look at Budget Link. I can possibly find you a link to there. and I am fairly sure they have a free version, and I don't know what the limitations of it are because I haven't looked at the details of that for a long time, but there is a free version. And yeah, so I mean, just having a quick look on the website there now, it says, you can do monthly job budgets and it connects to MYOB and Xero, and you can create budgets there. So that would be worth having a look for a very small organization.
Lovely. So hope that helps. Oh, so Emma is saying that she's now with Xero.
Yep, but Budget Link will connect to Xero.
Yeah, perfect. So we have Bin Han. So he's asking about, is Kelsa suitable for NFP annual turnover more than 1.5 mil?
Yes, I was talking to one of our land council customers just a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a turnover of 80 million in one of their companies. So yeah, more than suitable.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. So we have Susan. So is the TechSoup donation just the express version, or is the premier version?
No, it's the Premier version.
Perfect.
It's the Premier version, so you'll be able to do the cost center budgets and all the reporting.
Yeah.
And you can, as long as you meet the eligibility criteria, you can get that donation year after year. We have some people who've been on our donation program since 2011 when we started it. Other people start on the donation and they grow and expand and they end up as paying customers. We have other people who were once paying customers and they lost some funding, so they're under $1 million, so they go on the donation program. It's there, it's for you. We're happy to just look after you.
That's great. So just now while we are talking, I also paste the link. So if you wanted to have a look at connecting up website to see how Scouser Premier version looks like, please feel free to go to that link. Or Mike, do you think it's a good idea I just swap to my screen just to share that page
Yes.
so that I can have a look now?
Yep.
Okay. Because
do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah, it's okay. I can do the change present.
Okay, you can take over. You're in charge, yeah?
Thank you for that. Looks like it's not my page. No. Sorry, 1 second. So I'm now going to share my screen. Okay, perfect. So the link I just pasted onto the chat box is this link. So basically, if you are interested to know more about Kelser Premier service, so you can go to this link. I'll be putting this link onto the follow-up email as well. And there's a few options. Do you want to roughly talk about it, Mike? Or
there's product-wise, there's not much difference really. There's so the one on the left is the donation, where it's just that annual admin fee of $136 plus GST, and then the Calxa Premier discount is $157 ex GST, so you're getting a discount of 20 something dollars a month there, and the renewal is for the renewal of the donation. So the discount one just goes on month by month automatically. The donation at the end of each year, you just need to renew it and go back to connecting up fill out a quick form, tick some boxes, and as I said, as long as you still qualify, you get the donation year after year.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. And all right, so looks like we don't have any more questions. It's very interactive. There's lots of questions coming in. All right, so before we finish, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, that's pretty much it. I will give you my email so you can put it in the follow-up email, and if anybody does have questions, wants to talk to me, I'm happy to, provide them with further information if they want. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. All right, and okay, Susan got one more questions.
Okay.
So just one concern on the donation. If the crossover has a gap, do you lose your data?
No. If you stop using Calxa at some point, then we keep your data for at least 2 years, unless you tell us otherwise. So the data will be there. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That's perfect. Okay. That's pretty much what, okay, we got one more questions. Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. It's really good to have so much questions so that we can learn from it. So which is the best for non-accountants, Calcer or Budget Link? I'm a creative, so accounting gives me the heebies.
Budget Link's going to give you a very simple spreadsheet, and if that does what you want, it's going to be simple, not very hard to use. As a creative, I suspect you'll think it doesn't look very pretty. If you want something that looks better, use Calxa, and you can, our reports start off with lots of orange because that's our main color, but you can create your own report styles, and you can do blue, green, pink, any color reports you want. So for a creative, I think you should at least have a look at Calxa and see if it meets your needs, and we're happy to give you a hand if you get stuck with something.
Lovely. And then she followed by, is it automated?
We try and automate as much as we can. So the end result with Calxa is that you put together a bundle of reports for each person, and then you create a workflow so that they get delivered every month. So the CEO can get a bundle of reports tailored to them. The board members can get a bundle of reports tailored to them. The finance person can get a bundle of reports with maybe a bit more detail. And then when it comes to creating budgets, we've got tools where you can take last year's actuals and add a percentage to income, cost of sales, expenses, and try and take the time out of a lot of that process. And there are 180 something different pre-built report templates there for you to choose from. So a little bit of thinking about the setup to get what you want, but once you've done that, each month you should be able to automate the delivery of your reports.
That's lovely. And then Emma just commented about she loves the color. That is much better for her visuals.
Okay, good.
That's really good comment.
For some people that's important. Other people don't care. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's very, very personal.
Yeah,
But I was
that's
gonna
part of
say,
your initial needs analysis. Is color important to you? Or yeah.
lovely. And then Emma is saying, great, thank you. That's lovely.
Good.
Okay. All right, let me have a last look before we finish up. That's really great. We got lots of questions today, and the webinar is very informative. And as Mike said, he'll be giving us the email address so that if you need some more questions or need more advices, feel free to reach him out. And I'll also paste those two links. One is the demo link. The other one is the connecting up Kelsa service link, so that if you want to relook at it, feel free to do so. You'll be getting all the materials in 1 to 2 business days. All right, so while everyone is looking at my screen, I'll just quickly have a walkthrough with you about the webinars, like other webinars that you can join us. So if you go to Connecting Up website, that's the training sections. Right here, we have upcoming webinars. So this is just to quickly show you, we offer different kind of materials, including free materials and paid webinars that you can access for your own needs. So if I scroll down a little bit, we are having the Kelsa today that currently running. And like, for example, later today, we have a lunch and learn section for free. It's about Microsoft Teams 101. And next week, we have like marketing on digital web cons. We have social media strategy, cybersecurity the week after. So this is basically just to show you in terms of contents, we have a very big varieties. And some of them are free, some of them are paid. It's really about like which suits you better. So for example, if you click into it, there's a lot more details about the events that we are having. You can know the presenter, you can know the which sections, what's the different kinds of contents. And I'll also paste this link for you so that you can understand a little bit more about us with all the different kinds of events coming up. All right, thank you so much, Mike, today. It's our pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean, and thanks for everybody who attended, and I hope you found that useful.
Lovely. All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay,
Goodbye.
thank you.